Christine with Dogs for Life, Whole Dog Training and Wellness. And I am here with Teri Grant from Rover Rescue. And we are so close to the holidays, so I thought that this would be a great opportunity to talk with somebody about, holiday puppies. A lot of people bring home dogs during this time. And so we kind of want to give some tips as to once you bring your puppy home or your new dog, things that you can expect, maybe some of the things that we can help with the adjustment time and making sure that your puppy is not overwhelmed during the holidays here. So anyways, hello, welcome Teri
Thank
from
you.
Rover Rescue. So maybe you can just share a little bit about your organization, how long you guys have been around. I know I've known you guys for quite some time. So give us a little
Yeah,
history
yeah,
about you.
sure. Well, Rover Rescue's been around since 2003, and we are totally volunteer. Absolutely nobody in this organization gets paid. And what we have are dogs that come in generally from high kill shelters, and we get them up here. We do a transport of dogs every other weekend, and we bring the dogs in. We get them into foster homes, and they get vetted. We get them spayed, neutered, microchip vaccinated, whatever they need done, and then we get them adopted to permanent homes. We have off and on a little over 50 foster homes, always looking for more. And the nice thing about fostering is that it's pretty much free because Rover pays for all the vet bills, all the food and supplies. The only thing you have to pay for is your gas going back and forth to vets and to transports to pick up dogs. To date, we have brought into our organization over 11,000 animals.
Wow,
Yeah, and we're a totally volunteer organization. I mean, in my eyes, that's huge. We don't
it
have a central
is.
shelter, so this is all because we have some phenomenal foster homes. So I just can't say enough about them.
Yeah, I've attempted fostering, and I'm sure you run into this at times, but I had to like stop fostering because they just wouldn't go. I would bring them in and then I would be like, oh yeah, well they're just gonna stay now, and so
Right.
there's only so many dogs I could have in my house. So I've attempted 3 times, and I have failed 3 times.
Yeah, and that
So
is and that is something that I do talk to new foster homes about, that your goal as a foster home is not to adopt the dog yourself, is to find another great home for the dog, because literally it will tie up your home where you could have saved another life, and it's just not worth it. Now, not that you're not going to cry when your first few dogs get adopted. That is very common. But there's really the whole purpose of fostering is to save them from these high kill shelters. And if you keep adopting them yourselves, you can't help.
I know it's terrible, but I think I'm probably not the only one. I
Oh,
hope
yeah,
I'm
I'm
not
sure.
sure I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
But yes, exactly. I think fostering is such a worthy cause, obviously for animals to be able to one decompress in a home as opposed to a shelter. And if you've ever gone through like the shelters and you got rows and rows of dogs and stuff like that, that could be very, very stressful for animals in general. And so now you said you have approximately 40 to 50 fosters
Right. Approximately
currently.
40 to 50 foster homes, correct. And we have foster homes that you can be as specific as you want within reason as to what kind of dogs you want to foster. I mean, if somebody wants to foster just male dogs over 40 pounds, over a year old, no problem. If you want to just foster puppies, no problem. If you say, hey, Teri, I just want to foster small, white, fuzzy females, that's an issue. That's a little bit too specific. But generally, the dogs that we get in from these shelters that we've worked with for years they're always tested to be good with other dogs, and they're tested to be good with people. Now, sometimes we miss, because just like kids, sometimes kids don't get along with other kids. Same thing happens in the dog world.
Yeah,
Uh,
occasionally.
but it doesn't happen very often. and
Yeah.
really get cream of the crop dogs to foster, because unfortunately the shelters that we pull from have such a high volume of dogs coming in that they have a lot to choose from.
Yeah. And so this is a time in which, you know, a lot of people are out shopping for dogs. And so, and there's a lot of controversy in regards to whether you should get a dog for Christmas as a Christmas present. And so whether you do or you don't, but, there is that certain percentage of people who return pets after they adopt them. And so there's that side where people are like, dogs shouldn't be purchased as gifts. Now you guys have an interesting way of handling holiday dogs. So although you may do holiday dogs, but I also enjoyed you explaining to me what you guys do, which I think is
Yeah, and it's
thumbs
kind
up.
of, it's, we do adopt out dogs to people around the holidays, but we also make sure that the people aren't going to be having a whole bunch of people over for the holidays. And if that's the case, if you're having family coming over, from out of town or wherever, that's a stressful situation to throw a new dog into, because they need time to figure out the routine. Actually, whenever you get a new dog in your home, I tell people it's like dropping you in a foreign country where you don't know the culture or the language. That's what happens every time you bring a new dog into your home. So if you plan on, you want a Christmas dog, but you have people coming, what I suggest is that get a collar, buy a leash, a toy, put that in a box, wrap it up, put it under the tree, and when the kids or whoever, they can open that box and get real excited, because the nice thing about that is that way the kids are also part of the selection process. For one thing, we don't do surprises. Everybody in the family has to come meet a dog before they can adopt. So getting that box under the tree with the toys and collar and leash and stuff, that way the kids can come with you. Everybody can see the dog, because a dog that, dad might like, mom might not be wild about. You've really got surprises just are not good. You just
Right.
should not do surprises, period.
Yeah. Um, I agree. I like that. And I also think that by doing it that way and having the whole family involved, because, when you get a dog, one, the idea is that it's long term. The other is that it is a family pet and it should be picked out because I'm surprised, not surprised, but when I talk to people and I ask them about their selection process and stuff like that, one of the key things that people say to me is that dog picked me.
Yeah.
And so, they may have gone in and met several different dogs and stuff like that. But there is one particular dog that really kind of stood out and they feel that heart connection immediately. Whereas when you're giving it as a gift, yeah, sure, you could love a dog. But I think that there is that underline when you are actually part of that process and you make that immediate connection. And I think that that's really important, particularly if you have kids as well. So, once you've adopted a dog and they come home, as a dog trainer, we often see kind of recurring issues that happen. And in some cases, you get people who want to, um, return a pet because it wasn't quite what they expected. And so I think it's really important that people understand like that 333 rule, which is basically this is what you can expect in 3 days versus 3 weeks versus 3 months and how that's going to play out. So, a lot of people bring home a dog and they just drop it into the middle of everything. And it can be so overwhelming and can create particular behaviors if you have like a little shy and timid dog and all of a sudden you invite all of your friends over and the dog becomes more shy, it could be nippy, or, I mean, we're putting a dog into a position where might not quite be ready to deal with that. So part of that 333 is in that 3 day, they consider it like, decompressing the dog. And so do you have recommendations that you talk to with your new pet owners as to what they can be expecting?
We do, and there again, it really depends on the dog, and that's one of the beauties about having dogs in foster homes as opposed to just going and choosing a dog out of a crate and hoping for the best.
Totally agreed. Yeah.
I mean, there is a place in this world for shelters. Foster homes can't take them all, so I'm not
Right.
downgrading those by any means. But if you can get a dog from a foster home situation, it's usually much better because the foster home can tell you a lot about the dog, and the foster home has a good feel as to if this dog, taking it home during a Christmas time, during a family event when there's family coming over, if the foster home thinks that it will just throw the dog over the edge, they will not let the dog go. There's some dogs that are just happy-go-lucky and like nothing phases them, and they're just great. So it really depends on the dog. So there's no steadfast rule for every dog.
Now, do you have dogs for a certain amount of time before you actually put them up for adoption? Like, so once they come into a foster, you kind of get them right up on. And so do you use like pet finders or something of that nature where
Yeah,
people
the
can?
dogs come in and generally they're on the site within 2 days. And we use
Okay.
petfinder.com, adoptapet.com, and roverrescue.org. So they're posted
Okay.
on those. Generally, I post on roverrescue.org first because there's a lot of people that are very loyal to our website. So I give them about, an hour to half an hour first dibs on the dogs
Dibs.
when they come in.
Right.
And then I do
Exactly.
the pet finder and adopt a pet deal.
Right, right. And so some of the things that, like when dogs go home, that they could be experiencing is, maybe they feel a little overwhelmed, particularly sometimes when you have young kids, because young kids want to pick up the puppy and, hold them. And, you've got a young puppy that's just trying to figure out that they've come from this kill shelter into a foster and then going into a home. And so that's kind of a little bit of a bounce, where it could be a little bit on the overwhelming. And then when you have kids that are really excited about getting their new puppy, that can create some, overwhelming feelings and can, create a dog to shut down a bit. But on the flip side, it also, like you said, it depends on the dog. If you get a dog that is happy-go-lucky, man, they're bouncing around right there with them and they're wanting to play
Right.
and stuff like that. So as a pet parent, you kind of got to think about it just like your kids. I kind of, tell people, look, puppies by a certain age, they need sleep. And you don't want to keep them up too long. They need that nap time. So even though your kids are good, they got to make sure that those puppies go down for those naps. Otherwise, they get tired and they can get cranky. And again, that just builds into that overwhelming feeling. So usually within the first 3 days, we just simply want puppies to decompress and just kind of meet the family and chill out and stuff of that nature. And then from there, within that 3 week period, do you have like, over a course of that 3 months, other than, can people, once they adopt a dog, turn back and reach out to the foster home if they're struggling a bit?
Absolutely. And that's there again, another beauty of having the dog in a foster home because the foster home might have seen this kind of, whatever behavior is happening. And the foster home will say, hey, this is what I did to do it. The other thing is that with Rover Rescue's network of foster homes, the really nice thing about that is that, say, for example, somebody adopts a dog from us and they call me and say, hey, Teri, this dog is whatever, chasing my kids. And what I can do is say, well, first of all, let's go back to the foster home. If that's not the case, if the foster home can't help you out, send me an email exactly what the dog is doing. Then I send that out to all of our foster homes because the cool thing with our foster homes is that not one of us has seen it all. but between all of us, we've probably seen it all. So usually we get a lot of good feedback from the foster home saying, hey, try this or try that so I can forward it on. So it's a great
Yeah.
network.
It is a good network. And so I really like that about your facility is that, and I have in the past, talked to some of your fosters where they have struggled and maybe they, had to reach out a little bit and was
Mhm.
struggling with one thing or another. And I like that about your group of people is that, as you said, I think you've had some fosters pretty long term. When you have 50 fosters, you probably had some of those people for, quite a few years.
Definitely.
Yeah. How long have you actually been with Rover Rescue? Or are you
Well,
the initiator of Rover Rescue?
yeah, there were, I think, 11 of us or so that started Rover Rescue. Most of us were with another group prior to Rover Rescue. So, we had a lot of good history before we even started Rover Rescue. But personally, myself, this is my 36th year. I've been rescuing dogs for 36 years. So,
That's just wild.
yeah,
Yeah.
you either love it or you hate it. It's kind of an obsession now.
Right, right. I remember meeting all your, and I don't know that they were all your dogs, but I remember they were all the dachshunds. You
Yeah,
had
we do. I have,
a
yeah.
crew of dachshunds.
Yeah, yeah. I have well, and right now we just have one dachshund, but yes.
Yes, I remember there must have been like 5 or 6 of them. I don't know if you had a litter. I just remember I was like, oh my gosh, they're all
Yes,
over.
they were foster dogs.
Yes. And so, as far as anything that is up and coming for you guys, like what are some of the things that that are regular things that you would that you're always needing? Like, sometimes I see like newspapers or towels or things of that nature. Do you get food from people who donate, and where do they
We,
donate, and how do they get stuff to you?
yeah, we actually have a wish list on our website that I change as necessary. And so if you look at roverrescue.org and you look under, I think Help Us is the name of the tab, and there, you'll see something that says wish list. So you can always look there. It's easiest if everything is dropped off at my house in North Aurora, just because that way I can get it to where it needs to go. But some people live, farther east, so I would have them drop it off at one of our foster homes out further east. I don't expect people who live in downtown Chicago to have to, come all the way out to North Aurora to drop off stuff.
Sure.
But that wish list is by far the best place to look because we update that when if we have a immediate need that we need canned dog food or whatever, we'll put it on there.
Yeah. Is food regular? Because if you have 50 fosters, that's got to be 50 dogs or more, because I imagine some of those fosters actually might have more than one dog.
Yeah, and actually, not all the 50 foster homes are active all the time. I mean, some people might take off like around the holidays. They take
Yeah,
off. Some
sure.
people take off because soccer season. So it depends. But we have
Gotcha.
50 people that we can call on that are actually on our list.
Right,
So,
right.
really, with dry dog food, we usually have enough of that because we do have a source to get that.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but
Cool.
I mean, the fun things like toys and towels and crates and collars, leashes, that stuff, we can use. It,
Oh,
it
okay.
just
Yeah.
it just really depends. And what we have also, well, some of our upcoming events, what we do, we used to do a dog show. We used to have a pet dog show, but after with COVID, we couldn't do it for obvious reasons. So our biggest thing at that pet show was doing a silent auction where we had baskets that one of our foster homes created, and just baskets with stuff that had been donated, and they're beautiful baskets. And we have put them on Facebook and done a silent auction for a week. And so that's where we are getting a lot of our funds because that has just worked really, really well. So that is one of our biggest fundraisers. Otherwise, we don't really do any whole lot of fundraisers. Be
So that silent auction will be
Mhm.
coming up soon.
Yeah, we
Um,
probably won't do another one until sometime at the end of January. We don't
okay,
usually do one right before Christmas just because people, quite honestly, don't have the money to
sure.
do, that. So we do it after, probably the end of January is where I would expect the next one to go. And usually we have about 10 baskets that are up for auction. And if people, now the only drawback is that people do have to have Facebook in order to do it. So some people don't have Facebook, but you can always have a friend.
So you have a Facebook page that it goes on.
Yes, exactly. It's Rover Rescue of Illinois is our Facebook page. And that just works really, really well for an auction.
And if people had stuff that they would want to donate for that auction, do you just have a list of like everything that you post, like you take a picture and you post it up onto the website?
For
Yeah, for the donations, if somebody wanted to donate a basket for the silent auction,
if
how
somebody
would they
wants to
go about
donate,
doing that?
they can do that also, but generally we just get the individual items and the foster home who makes our baskets, she puts them all together. I mean, she might have themes like a Disney theme or Valentine's Day, or for right before Halloween, we had three baskets. We had a lot of dog costumes in them. So it just really depends. So we don't need so much the baskets already pre-made. We just need the guts for the
The
baskets.
items to be put inside of the baskets.
Yes,
And so,
exactly.
yeah, and so that will be if you're doing that at the end
End of
of
January will be our next one.
January, then you'll be collecting through the month of January for
Yeah.
that and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
And
Because I'm sure I can find stuff for you.
yeah. And well, the other big thing is our barn sale. We have
Oh,
a barn sale, and it's huge. And
and where's that located?
we have it out in Elgin at one of our foster homes. She has donated a huge barn for us. And so every year we have that out there, and people can start donating items for the barn sale as of May 1st. And this is a great way for people who maybe don't have, can't outlay cash, but they've cleaned their house or whatever, and they've gone through and they found stuff. We take pretty much everything as long as it's not large furniture, because we don't have storage space for large furniture. But as of May 1st, things can be dropped off at my home in North Aurora, and then we get it out to the barn sale. We don't take, not until about middle of July, we start taking things directly at the barn in Elgin. But until that point, everything has to be dropped off here at my house.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, a lot of fun stuff that you guys do. I do remember, prior to COVID, that you guys had that yearly around Mother's Day. You had, which I think was always a lot of fun because you
A
had
dog
a
show.
lot of the dog show because you had a lot of contests and stuff like
Yes.
that, and people sure like to go to that, and they would have. Different costumes and different games and things like that. And so that was always a fun activity. And it was nice that, that you still had dogs and stuff like that for
Yeah.
adoption.
And fortunately, whatever, we are not doing that in the future just because it was a lot of work.
Yes,
Just,
yes, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And I like the fact that the auction is taking the place so people
yeah.
can still feel like they're being a part of something and contributing. And, I do a lot of uh, with different organizations that have these silent auctions, and they'll put collars and different dog supply, and you can
Yes.
bid on stuff, and it's the highest bidder, and it's kind of actually fun. I'm not real competitive, but I kind of get competitive where it's like, what do you mean you want that collar? I could $5 more.
Yeah, and we
And
actually do
so
that with some of the stuff that is donated to the barn sale. We will actually pull it. Instead of taking it to the barn sale, we will do a silent auction with a bunch of stuff. That usually doesn't happen until May, June, and we do a couple of them. So a lot of the stuff that people donate, like for example, last year somebody donated a 4-foot, what are those the white guys, stormtroopers.
Oh,
A 4-foot one, and it moved in the whole thing. So instead of putting that in a barn sale, we put it on Facebook Marketplace and, auctioned it off. And I did, I'm sure, much better than what we would have had we had put it on, on a shelf at a
right,
barn sale.
exactly. Yeah, right, exactly. And so where can people come to see dogs? So I know you have them in the foster. I know
Mhm.
you have them posted, but what are some of the up and coming places where people can come down and
I
take a look at some
I
dogs?
just I know this coming weekend we are at the Bolingbrook PetSmart,
Okay.
and we don't know until about 2 days prior to the event as to what dogs will be coming, because if they get
Okay.
adopted, we just
Obviously.
so
Mhm.
we just don't
Yeah.
know. We do, the best place to see there is to look on our website. Once again, we have a whole events page, and people can just pull up the events and see where we're going to be at.
Yeah. And so again, they would go to Rover Rescue
.org.
.org.
Yes,
And
roverrescue.org. If you go to .com, you're going to California.
gotcha. .org will bring you right here to our local area in
Yep.
the Fox, Chicago area. And anyways, so I just wanted to thank you so much, Teri, for coming on and
Thank you.
sharing about your rescue and all of the hard work that you and your people do. And it's good to see you. It's been a little bit since I've seen
Yes,
you.
it has.
So even though we're here, but it's been nice to see you. And so again, if anybody has anything that they would like to follow up with, again, they can go to your website at roverrescue.org. There will be a wish list as well as the adoptables, and it will also give you the different locations that dogs will be at. So if somebody goes onto your website and sees a dog, can they contact you and say, can you bring the dog to, Bolingbrook? I'll be there, and
They can. Generally, we don't do that, because the only reason dog wouldn't be there is because the foster home couldn't make it to begin with.
oh, gotcha.
So
Sure.
most likely they have to come right to the home, the
Great.
foster home.
Gotcha. Cool. And it's better that way too. It's nice and relaxed. It's not all crazy. You don't got a lot of distraction. You get
Right.
to really kind of see the dog and meet the dog one-on-one. And so I think that's always kind of important. So again, thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, we'll be talking to you again soon.
All right. Have a good evening.